What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Further Review. This is episode number 4, and I'm so happy to have my buddy Landon Hammons on this show. We're going to talk some Super Bowl, we're going to talk some NFL offseason, and then some MLB and NBA too. So, Landon, you want to introduce yourself, introduce your show, and then we'll get started?
What's going on, everybody? My name's Landon Hammons. I'm part of the All Sports All Plays Network. Go ahead and check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, basically anywhere. Also, my guy Ryan, we're on Top Notch Sports Talk. You can go find that on YouTube as well. TikTok is the Landon Hammons. You can, if you want to go there and see my reaction to the playoffs, go ahead and do that. I'm ready to have some fun, talk some Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. And while you're plugging your TikTok, I'm going to plug mine. It's ryan.stoudt. Go ahead and follow that TikTok for more sports content. And, of course, tune into the podcast every week if you want to hear more just like this. So, I'm not going to waste any more time. We got a lot to go over today. The Super Bowl.
Yep.
4 days away. Landon, Who Dey Nation.
I'm telling you.
In SoFi Stadium against the Rams. Back up against the wall. So, let's start with this. Let's start with, give me your prediction for the game. Super Bowl MVP as well.
My prediction, I'm going to go with a somewhat low-scoring game. I think that the Rams defense is going to stop Cincinnati. For the most part, we're not going to see an explosive game from Joe Burrow. My score prediction is going to be 24-21 Cincinnati. I think Evan McPherson's going to walk it off once again.
McPherson.
And my Super Bowl MVP is going to be Joe Mixon. Now, that's going to surprise some people. We have everybody coming out with the Rams stat. They're not allowing more than 50 yards a game from running backs, and here, this, and that. But I think Joe Mixon's going to come out, and he's going to play with a vengeance. I really think Joe Mixon's going to run for probably 2 touchdowns, and maybe even north of 75 yards. I think Joe Mixon will be Super Bowl MVP. I think Burrow's going to have a good game, but he's probably going to be on his back quite a bit. That's what I'm worried about. Going into this game. But I think Joe Mixon's going to be your Super Bowl MVP, and the Cincinnati Bengals are Super Bowl 56 champs.
All year long, I said it was the Rams. Well, not all year long. Probably from like week 3 or 4 on, I said the Rams were going to win the Super Bowl. And then the AFC Championship happened, and something clicked in my head where I'm like, Joe Burrow is that guy. So I said to my dad last week, I was like, here's exactly what's going to happen. Joe Burrow is going to walk into SoFi Stadium without a care in the world because he's so confident. He's got that winner's mentality. He's going to lead the Bengals into basically a home Super Bowl for the Rams for the second straight year, and they're going to walk out with the Lombardi Trophy. Cincinnati is going to win this game. I think it's going to be close, but I said it on my TikTok, they have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Right.
And the Rams have this super team that, everybody expects to win a Super Bowl, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Joe Burrow is going to be the first player in football history to win a Heisman Trophy, national championship, and Super Bowl in under 3 years. It's insane. He's got the winner's mentality in his second year.
That's crazy. It's crazy to even think about. I'll tell you right now, the vibe up here in northern Kentucky, I live, for those who don't know, I live in the northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area. Everybody's excited, and we had a pep rally Monday night in Paul Brown Stadium. I don't know if you saw any videos from that. CJ Uzomah ripping off the knee brace, and everybody's super excited. It's gonna be fun up here. I know that for sure. But that's another plug the TikTok one more time. If you want to see what it's like up here, come Super Bowl, go ahead and go over to that TikTok.
Well, and it's funny you should say that. I was listening to some podcast this morning on ESPN, and they said that every school in Cincinnati has called off for February 14th. They're making this like a holiday.
It is.
The Bengals are going for their first Super Bowl ever, and this team is deadly. I mean, don't overlook this Bengals team. Before the year even started, I said they weren't going to make the playoffs, which that shows you how right I am. They pick up this kid Evan McPherson in the draft. Shooter McPherson. You got Joe Burrow behind center. Joe Mixon, who's been having one heck of a year. Yeah. Jamar Chase, who came out of nowhere, basically. Nobody was really high on him. There you go. Jamar Chase probably, I would say, a top 15 receiver in the league right now.
I'd say top 5. I would even say top 5, personally. A little biased, but...
Right. I mean, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and T. Higgins. I mean, this is like an LSU reunion.
Yes.
And these guys have played with each other for so long, and I think that actually has a big factor in what's going to happen. Now, if you look at the Bengals' offensive line, that's where the weakness is going to be. We saw that in the Super Bowl last year. The Rams' defensive line is so good, and the Bengals' offensive line is what needs work. Joe Burrow got sacked 9 times, I think, against the Titans, if I'm right.
Yes, 9 times.
But he won that game. That's the only reason I think they're going to win this game. You can get sacked 9 times and still win a game. That means your defense is doing something right.
Right.
To me.
And, to add on to that point with the offensive line struggles and the Rams' good defensive line, the only playmaker in their secondary is Jalen Ramsey. And, listen, the only way that defense is going to be able to stop Cincinnati is if they can put Joe Burrow on his back. And I don't think they're going to be able to do that all 4 quarters. I don't, because we saw the Titans, they were able to do it all 4 quarters, and they still couldn't win. The Chiefs could do it in the first half, couldn't do it in the second half, and we saw what happened. So Jalen Ramsey's not going to be able to guard T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Jamar Chase. That's just not going to happen. It's not humanly possible. So somebody else in that secondary is going to have to step up before I can believe in the Rams to beat the Bengals.
Right. And I think another big point here is the coaching standpoint, because you got 2 young coaches.
Yes.
You got Zach Taylor, who's 38. You got
Sean McVay.
Sean McVay, who's 36. And this is the young game that we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of young coaches emerge and be big and be some of the best coaches in the league because they have that modern spin on the game. So props to Zach Taylor. He's going to be coach of the year.
Hopefully.
Without a doubt.
That'd be cool.
And he brings his team to the Super Bowl. Nobody else thought they could.
Right.
And the whole league was pulling for the Bengals against the Chiefs, which I thought was really cool. So my other question that I wanted to talk about is, a lot of people now are comparing Joe Burrow to the next Tom Brady. So I want as a Bengals fan, I want to get your thoughts on, do you think Joe Burrow is the next Tom Brady?
It's cool to hear, but I don't want to hear it. I feel like it's going to jinx. It's going to be a jinx. Everybody's hyping him up, and then it's going to be bad. And I compare this to Lamar Jackson. They're saying he's going to be the next Vic. They're saying, you know what I mean? He's going to be amazing. Then he comes back and has a terrible year, goes out the playoffs, doesn't play. Well, he didn't have a terrible year last season. I'm not going to say that. He didn't have a good season. He didn't have a unanimous MVP season. I don't want that to happen to Joe Burrow. So I want the hype to die down while I love it. I love hearing everybody talk about Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty, all that. I like it, but I also don't. I'm scared it's going to be a jinx. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I love all the attention, but I don't like it at the same time.
Well, I don't think there will ever be another Tom Brady.
No.
Only because Joe Burrow is in the AFC, which is tougher than we've ever seen it before. Every year he's going to have to go up against guys like Herbert, guys like Allen, guys like Mahomes. I mean, there is so much competition in the AFC. There's no way he's going to get anywhere near a caliber of Tom Brady. I mean, we're not going to see a dynasty in the AFC. I think it's going to be a guessing game every year for who's going to get in, and it's going to be competitive. Now, as far as the talent goes, Joe Burrow is probably one of the most talented quarterbacks I've seen in a long time, solely because of what he's doing in just his second year. I couldn't tell you another quarterback that's gone to a Super Bowl in their second year.
People could make an argument that it's basically still his rookie season because he did not play much in his first season. Obviously, it's his sophomore year. Everybody, that's just how it works. It's a second year, but his rookie campaign was cut short. Now, while he was playing, he didn't have a great rookie campaign. He only won, I believe, 2 games as a starter.
I mean, he did have a pretty good rookie season.
Right, from what he did, he had a good, numbers-wise. His team was just so bad. And then we saw how they rebuilt the defense, brought in guys like Trey Hendrickson, Cheeto. They've got, now Jesse Bates has help. And Sam Hubbard has help, and it's just DJ Reader, Larry Ogunjobi. While he's hurt, but he was a factor all year. We've got all these guys now coming in who, it's a fun stat. The only 2 players that are still on Cincinnati's defense that were there 2 years ago is Sam Hubbard and Jesse Bates. Everybody else is not there anymore.
Right.
I think that's cool that that's cool to look at. They've rebuilt the defense, and now they're in the Super Bowl. And another guy that I want to bring up is Jamar Chase. The help that he's provided is, it goes talked about. I'm not going to say it's disrespected, but I feel like it's a little bit underappreciated for sure.
Yeah, and it goes without saying too, because you mentioned the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. I think that the Bengals own the AFC North now
Yes.
because
I
the
don't think there's a
Browns.
fight.
Yeah, exactly. The Baker Mayfield didn't work for the Browns. Lamar isn't working for the Ravens. He's still overrated in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The Bengals own the AFC North unless the Steelers pull off some big offseason move that everybody's talking about, and we'll see. That time will tell. The Bengals own the AFC North, and they came from behind too, because everybody was talking about how the Cleveland Browns were the next big thing. They were going to be the next, front runner in the AFC. And Baker Mayfield isn't as good as everybody thought he was.
Right. I was one of those people. I believed in the Browns hype. I thought the Browns were going to be in the same position the Bengals were. My Super Bowl at the beginning of the year was Cleveland Browns versus LA Rams. Right. It was. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. But I was one of the people that said the Bengals would be in the playoffs. I thought they'd slide in. I thought they'd lose first round. They shocked me here. I mean, I knew once we were here that we would at least get to the AFC Championship, and I believed, the whole way through. Obviously, I was rooting for the team, but at the beginning of the year, I believed playoffs was the ceiling.
Right.
And we're here and playing in the Super Bowl. So
yeah, it's a Cinderella story, and everybody loves a good Cinderella story in sports. So hopefully they can cap it off and finish off the season with the Super Bowl. We'll find out Sunday night at 6:30 in SoFi Stadium. Now, to move on, we had some other big news this week because the question looming last week when I did my last show was, will he retire or will he not retire? We heard Tom Brady was planning on retiring. Adam Schefter reported that it was official. Mm-hmm. Then it was like, hold on, we don't know if he's going to retire yet. He hasn't made his decision. This week we get the official decision. Tom Brady has retired from the game of football. He steps away after 22 record-breaking seasons, 7 Super Bowls, and I don't even know how many Super Bowl appearances.
10, I believe, 10.
10, and
Mm-hmm.
to get 7 Super Bowls out of that is absurd, setting all sorts of records. So, Landon, now that Tom Brady has officially retired, what's the move in Tampa?
It's a mess. I don't know what you do in Tampa and they're in such a weird situation, right? Because you got a great team with no quarterback. You got one of the all-time great Hall of Fame guaranteed head coaches. Mm-hmm. No quarterback. What are you going to do? So I think they need to. If it's me, I go out and I try to get Jimmy Garoppolo from San Francisco. That's what I try to do because he's going to be cost efficient where you can still support your guys, and he's going to get the ball where you need it to be. He's a good pocket passer. Now, there's so much Jimmy G hate, but look at his winning percentage. He is a winning quarterback. He knows how to win. And I think that's what's important in Tampa Bay. You're not going to get another Tom Brady. But I would take Jimmy G over Kyle Trask any day of the week.
Yeah, and I'm one of those guys that isn't, I don't disagree with moving to Kyle Trask. I think Kyle Trask has sat behind Tom Brady long enough, mm-hmm. and maybe that's what they need. Maybe they need to see what he can do. But a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo would be interesting because, like you said, he's a winner. Do they go out and try to get a guy like Russell Wilson? Do they go out and try to get a guy like Aaron Rodgers? Do they go out and try to get a guy like Kirk Cousins? I mean, like you said, they're a good all-around team. They don't need an elite quarterback, in my opinion. They need somebody that is a solid quarterback.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and that's why I think Jimmy G's the move. They go out and what they're going to spend for Aaron Rodgers is going to make them not a good team anymore, and that's the truth. They're going to have to give up so much to get Aaron Rodgers, get 2 years out of Rodgers, just like they did with Tom Brady. Maybe win a Super Bowl, maybe not. There's more. I feel like there's more questions with Aaron, and then you got to question the future. When you go with Jimmy G, you've probably got a solid 6-7 years. I would say solid if you wanted to invest that much in Jimmy G, and you're not going to have to give up much.
Right. Well, and that's so interesting too because they wouldn't have to spend too much to just move up to Kyle Trask and see what he can do. And, maybe to play it safe, you get a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, but I really think they ought to see what Kyle Trask is all about because he didn't have a bad college career.
Right, he didn't. No, he had a really good college career.
Right. So, I don't know. I guess, time will tell with the move in Tampa, but I honestly think that Kyle Trask is the right decision here. You're not spending any money, and there's a limited amount of quarterbacks that are available that you can afford other than Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe a Kirk Cousins, but, with that $84 million deal that he had in Minnesota, he might be wanting another big deal. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, listen, you're not going to like this, but if I'm Minnesota, I'm keeping Kirk Cousins. That's just for his contract. I'm not paying him again, but I'm keeping him for this next year. I think he's solid.
His contract.
Maybe
Yeah,
that, or get rid of him and rebuild. That's the move for Minnesota. But you got one more year left to Kirk Cousins. Keep him in for one more year.
Yeah, and we'll circle back to that in a second. But I want to move on and go to Aaron Rodgers right now because we were talking about him for a little bit. Of course, everybody expected it after the 49ers upset them in the divisional round. Aaron Rodgers probably, or all signs point to him no longer being a Green Bay Packer. And now within weeks of the divisional round, it's reported that he has bought land in Tennessee to start building a new house. And, of course, the NFL world went berserk, thinking that means he is going to be a Tennessee Titan. So, Landon, my question to you is, how will Aaron Rodgers' offseason shake out?
I think that the stuff with the house in Tennessee is an overreaction. Now, I was one of the guys who overreacted when I first, heard it. But then Tennessee comes out and says they believe in Ryan Tannehill and they're not going to. Now, maybe this is just a front. Maybe they're just putting this front on while Ryan Tannehill is still their quarterback just in case something goes wrong in the pursuit for Aaron Rodgers. That's very possible. That's just how you play the game. You don't just say, we don't like our guy anymore. We're going to go out and get Aaron Rodgers. Well, what if somebody one-ups your deal and you can't do anything about it? Then you're stuck with Ryan Tannehill, who you've talked bad about all offseason. So I think that Tennessee is just saying that they're going to stick with Ryan Tannehill because they don't know what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to go to Tennessee. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to stay in Green Bay. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to go to Denver. I unfortunately think that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler for the next season. I think it's Steelers or retire for me. He's going to go into the Steelers, who is already a rich franchise. They're already a winning program, right? They're one quarterback away from another Super Bowl. So Pittsburgh, I think Pittsburgh is going to be the location for Aaron Rodgers. Maybe 2 years, maybe if they're lucky, they get 2 years out of Aaron Rodgers. They're going to be too productive. It's just going to be just like Tom Brady in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and the interesting thing here, Dan Orlovsky said this the other day, and here's what I think because I agreed with him. The smart move is to stay in the NFC. Aaron Rodgers should not want any part of the AFC because it's so competitive. You tell me that he's going to go to a team like the Steelers and beat a guy like Burrow, beat a guy like Herbert, beat a guy like Mahomes, like Allen. I mean, these are elite quarterbacks that he'd have to beat. If he sticks in the NFC, who's he got? Stafford?
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe Russell Wilson. We got to see what he does next year.
He's the top dog,
right,
in the NFC. And so I think he's going to stay in an NFC team. I could really see him going to Tampa. Now, if Tampa can afford him,
right.
I could also see him maybe staying in Green Bay if he realizes that maybe I don't want to go to the AFC. Maybe that's a little too challenging, and I want to stay the top dog in the NFC. Maybe he stays in Green Bay, but the fate of Green Bay rests on Aaron Rodgers' decision. And I say that because Davante Adams is also a free agent. And I think everybody in the sports world knows wherever Aaron Rodgers goes, Davante Adams is going to follow him.
I agree. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if the Green Bay Packers land a franchise tag on Davante Adams. And listen, a little hot take. I don't want this to happen. I love Davante Adams. We might see another Antonio Brown story with Davante Adams. Davante Adams might get Le'Veon Bell. He's going to get franchise tagged by Green Bay. Maybe he throws a fit and doesn't play. I don't know. I haven't looked into Davante Adams to know as much of how he is as a person. I don't know if he'd do that. But I think Green Bay, if they're smart, they franchise tag Davante Adams. Because if you do that, then you still have a chance of picking up a star quarterback, maybe in free agency or over a trade, because they're like, you want to throw Davante Adams? What quarterback's going to say no to that?
Right. And think about this though. Now that you mentioned Pittsburgh, which is probably his only spot that he'd go in the AFC,
Right.
he's not going to go to Denver, like you said. He's not going to end up going to a place like Tennessee. At least I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
If he goes to Pittsburgh, I talked about how the Tennessee team would look on my TikTok, but let's take a look at this. You have Aaron Rodgers behind center. You got Najee Harris at running back, who is going to be elite.
He's going to be great. Yeah.
He is going to be one of the top running backs in the league. Your receiving core would then be Devontae Adams, Chase Claypool, and Juju Smith-Schuster, assuming that Devontae Adams follows Aaron Rodgers. You got Eric Ebron at tight end.
You've got Deontay Johnson in that receiving core too, if Juju doesn't stay.
That's an elite team. That's a contender.
I mean, defense is stacked too. T.J. Watt, Defensive Player of the Year, more than likely, right? I mean, him or Michael Parsons. Minka Fitzpatrick, who is still, I don't even know how he's still this good. He's the definition of underrated. He goes so unappreciated because he's in the shadows of T.J. Watt. He's so unappreciated in my opinion. He has such an impact in the secondary. If they didn't have him, they wouldn't be anything on defense.
Right. But it's such a scary move if you're Aaron Rodgers though, I feel like, because you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, the AFC is that competitive that you get a team like that and they might not even make the Super Bowl.
Let alone the AFC North. Like, think AFC North is probably the toughest division in football right now, I would say.
Yeah.
I would say agree. Because the NFC West is pretty much the Rams division. Mm-hmm. There's nobody, I mean, maybe the Cardinals. We'll see what Seattle does next year. The AFC North is the toughest division. You've got Cincinnati, who's in the Super Bowl now, so they're going to be Super Bowl contenders next year. That automatically makes them Super Bowl contenders next year. You've got Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, who they're really good. Year in and year out, when they're healthy, they're really good. The Cleveland Browns, once they get healthy and they can, hopefully they make some smart decisions in free agency, they're going to be good in a couple of years. They got to do something with the quarterback situation, but I think they'll figure that out. If Aaron Rodgers comes to the Steelers, this is going to be like a four-way tie for first place in the AFC. Seriously, I don't know. Now, if he, like you said, if he's smart, he stays in Green Bay. I think he stays in Green Bay or goes to Tampa because you're in winning cultures once again, and the NFC is not as competitive as the AFC as you said. So I don't know what's gonna happen. He's such an oddball. I didn't think he was gonna come back for one more year.
He's a prima donna.
Exactly. What's gonna happen? Nobody knows. He could go play in the MLB tomorrow for all we know. We do not know what's gonna happen. We really don't.
He could go host Jeopardy.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, you know what? I'm done with football. I'm going to host Jeopardy. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. All right. So let's stick with the off-season topic and let's look at some coaching hires. And I want to tell you, I'm going to go through a list and I want you to tell me who the best hire is and why. So, first of all, peep the flag. My Vikings hire Kevin O'Connell as their next head coach. Well, not officially, but after Sunday, they're pretty much going to sign the contract. He's going to be the next head coach. The Jaguars hired Doug Peterson, Raiders hired Josh McDaniels, and yesterday the Texans hired Lovie Smith. Landon, who is the best hire out of that group?
Your Minnesota Vikings. It's not even a question. I thought they were going to fumble it. I thought that, they're in this front runner for this fantastic, it's just laid out perfectly for them. I thought they were going to mess it up. They didn't. I'm surprised they didn't mess it up. That's the Minnesota Vikings for you, but... no offense to you and your team, but it's the truth. You even posted, I believe it was on Snapchat, please don't mess this up, Minnesota. They didn't.
Yeah.
They stuck their guy. I'm proud of Minnesota. Minnesota's got the best hire. It's not even close. We'll see what happens with Brian Flores. Until then, Minnesota's the front runner right now for me.
Yeah, and I even said it on my podcast. I said, and I said to my buddy, I said, for the first time in 17 years of my life, the Minnesota Vikings didn't disappoint me.
Yeah.
And finally went and got their guy. So hopefully everything shakes out. It's looking like after the Super Bowl this Sunday, Kevin O'Connell is going to find a new home in Minnesota. And you're right. I mean, that was a phenomenal hire. He's 37 years old. And again, it speaks to that young coach's mentality. He's got a modern spin on the game. Mm-hmm. He's worked with a guy like Sean McVay. He worked in Washington with Kirk Cousins, so he's familiar with his quarterback already. All signs point to this being the best hire for Minnesota. Not only that, but their GM is a young guy too.
Yeah,
So this is going to flip Minnesota to be a winning culture. And I
100%.
really think in the next 2 or 3 years, Minnesota is going to own the NFC North. If that, they might even have a quick turnaround next year. I mean, you have the pieces to be a serious contender as long as you shake that quarterback spot out and that offensive line spot out. Now, if the Minnesota Vikings could not disappoint me one more time and go out and get a guy like Russell Wilson, I would be
That'd be crazy.
so happy. Is he a free agent, Russell Wilson?
No, not yet. Next year he's
So
a free
they could
agent.
end up trading a guy like Kirk Cousins for Russell Wilson if they offer the right package, because we know Russell Wilson wants out of Seattle. But, I'm asking for a lot. I'm just happy that they got this coach, and I really think that we're going to see a new era in Minnesota in the next couple of years, a real contender.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be scary. The only problem that I have with anything you just said is the NFC North comment. That you think that they're going to be the rulers of the NFC North. Watch out for Justin Fields. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. Justin Fields is a wild card in the NFL to me because he had an okay rookie season. It was okay. Not really much trust was put into him. He had a terrible coach, probably the worst coach in the NFL, Mike Zimmer. Or not Mike Zimmer. Whoa, not Mike Zimmer. Matt Nagy, excuse me, yeah.
Close, though. Mike Zimmer was bad.
Pretty close, yeah. But, I mean, Matt Nagy was just a mess. That team was a mess, but I feel like they're going to get turned around. Watch out for the Bears. That's going to be fun to watch, too, as the Vikings and the Bears within, the next 5 years are going to be fun to watch there.
Yeah, I agree. Now that I think about it, they did hire Ryan Poles. That was a great general manager hire. Their head coach, I don't know too much about. He's done defensive coordinator for the Colts. So I really could see this being a two-team race in the NFC North. I think the Packers in the next couple of years are not going to be the Packers.
Thank God.
I think that this is going to be a two-man race for the NFC North, and it is going to it's the Vikings or the Bears.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because Aaron Rodgers with his "I own you" comment to the Bears, where's he at now? Because Chicago and Minnesota are about to own him if he stays in Green Bay.
I think it's funny that I'm excited to see green and yellow gone for a while. I'm just excited. I'll be okay to see them in like the number 1 pick spot in a couple of years. That's the only time I'm going to be good with seeing green and yellow again.
There you go. And maybe they will be on a rebuild. I guarantee if Aaron Rodgers loses though, that division is up for grabs next year.
Yeah.
As if he leaves, watch out because
Jordan Love is not it.
Jordan Love is not that guy.
No.
He is not that guy. He sat behind Aaron Rodgers, so maybe they can do something with him. But I guarantee you, if Aaron Rodgers leaves, we're going to watch the Packers scramble for a new quarterback.
I agree.
They've had, 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in the last 20, 30 years and have 2 Super Bowls to show for it?
John Mark's not going to know what to do, is he?
He's not going to know what to do. He's in the chat right now.
Yeah.
He's a depressed Packers fan moment. I mean, you better be saying your prayers, John Mark, that Aaron Rodgers stays in Green Bay. All right, so we have 2 more topics. We're going to swing it over to the MLB first, and then we're going to end on the NBA trade deadline because the MLB, with an interesting decision sort of out of the blue the other day, we see Rob Manfred make another decision, and I think we all know how most MLB fans feel about Rob Manfred. But the MLB will no longer be testing players for steroids. They've been doing this for 20 years, and it has become a scandal with guys like Barry Bonds, Manny Ramirez, Ryan Braun, you name them. It's been a scandal with all those guys. So, Landon, what do you think about this decision from the MLB to stop testing for steroids?
Can you be honest with you real quick?
100%.
The reason they did this is because viewership has gone down in the MLB. They know that the steroid era with Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, I believe, right? When they were going back and forth for Home Run King, that's when baseball was at its peak. Now, neither of us were able to watch that, unfortunately. But we know, because, I'm an MLB fan. You are too. We're both MLB fans. We both watch it. Every year we watch it. We watch the races. And I think that that's the truth, is that you don't see anything about MLB much anymore. You just don't. Like, there was a thing, ESPN hadn't posted, anything about baseball. It was 2 months, a 2-month span where ESPN didn't post anything about baseball. And that just shows that, it's just the viewership's gone down. So they need to do something, and they're like, okay, you know what? Let's let people take steroids and hit 400 homers a year. That's an exaggeration, but that's the truth. That's what they want. They want viewership back up. That's why they did this, and I love it. I think it's going to make baseball more entertaining. Players are definitely going to start using steroids. I hate that Barry Bonds was unable to make the Hall of Fame because of this, because everyone did it. It's not like it was unusual. Do you know what I'm saying? And Barry Bonds never even got proven guilty of using steroids, and that's the thing that makes me mad, is he didn't even get proven guilty. We've had Mark McGwire was on steroids too. I'm pretty sure he's in the Hall of Fame, isn't he?
I think so.
I believe he is, and that just that goes to show that it's messed up, and with this, that won't be able to happen again.
Well, so here I agree with you on the entertainment aspect. It's definitely going to make the game more entertaining. And they definitely did it to boost viewership, because we all know the MLB was going down the drain. Nobody was watching the MLB. So Rob Manfred made this call because he wants the viewership to go up, and that's all he cares about is his money, in my opinion. Here's the reason I don't like the move. Because now that it's public, this story went out and got into public, this makes every single baseball fan, every single baseball analyst question the integrity of the game. Baseball no longer has any sort of integrity. You could see a guy win MVP, and they could say, well, who's to say he didn't take steroids to help him win the MVP?
Right.
So the reason I don't like it is because if it's always going to leave that doubt factor in your head. Watching these guys play so well, hitting all these home runs, having heroes to look up to for some of these young kids, there's always going to be that doubt that maybe, just maybe, they had steroids to help them do that.
Right, I agree. And that's a really good point, is like, that's always going to be in the back of everybody's head, and then whenever a team loses because of a walk-off home run, they'll be like, well, steroids, da-da-da-da. That's what I'm prepared for. That's going to be annoying, but I think it was the right move for the MLB.
Yeah, I mean, from a money standpoint, it was definitely the right move, because viewership is going to go up once we start seeing people hit home runs out of all sorts of stadiums. I don't like it only because it's always going to leave that doubt factor. I think cracking down on it was a better move, only because then you know that people are doing something about it, and hey, these guys are doing stuff without steroids,
right?
And they're putting up these sorts of numbers. You can almost respect that in a way. I don't think there's going to be the same level of respect with these players now as there would if people were still cracking down on steroids. And I almost think the viewership might go down, might continue to go down, because people think, now that, again, this story's public, how many people are really going to watch the MLB knowing that they're allowing their players to take these steroids to improve their game? It goes again on an integrity factor. How many people are actually going to want to watch that and have it in the back of their minds that these guys are taking steroids?
It'll be interesting to watch what happens, because that's a good point. It's like the real baseball fans who are, watch baseball for years are going to be like, well, what the heck? This isn't even fun anymore. It's like fake almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It takes skill to put the bat on a 95 plus mile an hour fastball.
Right.
But once it gets on the bat, it's going to fly, and that's the truth. It takes skill to put it on the bat. Don't get me wrong, but the fact that you're right, it's not going to take as much skill to hit a home run anymore, and that's what everybody goes to baseball games to watch. Realistically,
yeah,
there's going to be that thought that there's not even any skill.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the second thing that happened this offseason. I mean, the players' lockout happened. I'm pretty sure that's still going on.
It is,
and now this. Reinstating the use of steroids. So, it's going to be an interesting MLB season. I think you're either going to see the ratings go way up, or you're going to see the ratings seriously decline.
Yeah.
We're going to see one of the two. And spring training's right around the corner, so I think spring training is going to be a big tell-all once they start broadcasting those games to see how many people are actually going to be into this MLB season.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. So let's move to our final topic of the day. We're gonna talk some NBA, because the trade deadline is here. I believe it's tomorrow is the final day, right?
Tomorrow at 3:00, I believe, is whenever.
Tomorrow at 3:00 is the trade deadline, so all trades need to be in by that time. Landon, there are some questions looming So, what is the biggest story going into this trade deadline? Either a trade that's already happened because we saw some, or a trade that's might happen.
I think the Domantas Sabonis trade was huge. I think it's kind of going under the radar too because people were like, what else is going to happen with Russell Westbrook? And I think that's going to be the biggest trade because people don't really realize how big he was to the Pacers. Like, he was their guy. You know what I mean? He's their star player. And he's going to Sacramento. And Sacramento, let me just say this, they have a bright future. De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis now. You know, they had to give up Tyrese Halliburton, which I didn't like. That's what I didn't like at all. And John Mark in that chat with the CJ McCollum trade, that's what I was going to bring up next. That's another big story. I also feel like it's a little bit much. I think that CJ McCollum, while he's still good, he's good. He's not the CJ McCollum he was 5 years ago. And that's is he going to be good in New Orleans? I guess time will tell. I don't think he's going to be fantastic. But the package that the Pelicans gave for CJ McCollum, they won that trade. You know, but it's a middle of the line risk for a high reward. But the Kings, I don't like them giving up Tyrese Halliburton, and that's just my opinion though. But I think it was they got something good out of it. But Tyrese Halliburton's a big loss for them.
Right. And I think the trade that's already happened that shocked everybody, it especially shocked me, was Domantas Sabonis. Like you said,
Yeah, me too.
Going to the Kings, and now that Kings team is going to be really good. Like you said, De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, they have some guys over there in Sacramento, and the rebuild is on. But as far as the biggest story, I got to go with James Harden. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with James Harden because we're hearing from the front office, of course, that he wants to stay, that he hasn't said anything about a trade. And now today, a story was released just before the show that said he's going to be requesting a trade. He doesn't want to be in Brooklyn anymore. Philly, obviously, being the spot that everybody's talking about. You could argue Russell Westbrook being a story, but James Harden wanting to leave the Nets, because I think when the Nets have the big three, they're unstoppable. I mean, when Kyrie's on the floor, when Kevin Durant comes back, James Harden hasn't been having one of his better years, but this could be a big story wherever he goes.
And that's why I'm going to come in and say the Nets, even with the big three, are not legit. And I have said this even when James Harden was traded last year. I was like, this is not going to work out. It's not, even if he stays, they all get healthy, they're not going to win the finals. They won't be in the finals. Exactly. That's exactly. And Milwaukee, their star power is not huge. And John Mark, hot take, the Kings lost the trade. I agree. Hield and Halliburton, I was going to say that. They're young, up-and-coming guards. I think they lost the trade, too, for the future. I think for the now, the Kings won. It's the same thing. This is exactly what I said with the Rams trade. I said, for now, the Rams won the trade. For the future, the Lions won the trade. But, yeah, you know, we're talking about NBA. So, but I agree with what John Mark said. I think the Kings did lose that trade. But James Harden, if he goes, it's not going to be a huge loss. I think if he goes, it's going to be more of a win than they get if he stays.
Yeah. No, I honestly, I don't know what's going to happen. I think he probably will stay. I think a guy that's going to be traded, honestly, is Russell Westbrook. That's going to be the superstar.
He needs to be.
That's the superstar you're going to see traded because the Lakers are now scrambling to make themselves a respectable team in the West. And they're not going to do anything no matter who they pick up because nobody's going to want to trade for Russell Westbrook.
Exactly.
Russell Westbrook statistically is having his worst year probably of his career, and the Lakers are they're not good. I think LeBron is getting older. Anthony Davis is injury prone. He's not what he used to be. And Russell Westbrook is going to not be an LA Laker come tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
I agree. And I think that whatever happens to Russell Westbrook that's the last team we're ever going to see Russell Westbrook on.
Yeah.
I think he's done. I really do. I think Father Time's finally catching up to LeBron. We've all, you know, I don't know about you. I'm not a huge LeBron fan. I've been waiting on it. And he's not the Tom Brady of NBA like everybody said he was. Father Time's finally catching up. The Lakers are done. The Lakers are going to be back to just how they were before LeBron came along.
Yep.
You know, AD, they need to get rid of AD tomorrow too. They won't get rid of AD tomorrow because of how much they've invested in him, but they need to get rid of both of those guys and just, I guess, keep LeBron until Bronny comes and he retires. That's personally what I would do.
I think that Bronny's going to play one season with his dad, and then LeBron's just going to retire.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only thing that LeBron's waiting on, is he wants to play one season with his son, which I respect it.
Yeah.
But after he plays with Bronny, he's going to be done. That's going to be it.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is the show for today. That's all we have for you. If you enjoyed this podcast, you want to hear more, just go ahead and tune in to After Further Review. It's weekly here on YouTube Live and all podcast streaming platforms. Landon, you want to give an outro real quick and plug your show one more time?
Ryan, thank you for letting me come on. Yeah, go ahead and check out All Sports All Plays Network on Facebook and YouTube. Go ahead and check out my TikTok, the Landon Hammons, and me, Ryan, and John Mark's show. It's that's a good show over there. We're gonna start being back more, I'm sure, soon. Top Notch Sports Talk on YouTube. Go check that out.
Awesome. Yeah, and again, this show is weekly, so if you want to see more podcasts, go ahead and check this one out, as well as my TikTok, Ryan.Stoudt. But for me, Landon Hammons, this has been your weekly edition of After Further Review.